not a surprise. Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont easily won the Democratic primary in West Virginia, 51% of the vote to Hillary Clinton's 36%. And some lawyer named Paul Farrell won about 9%, kind of the none of the above vote. Donald Trump easily won the Republican primaries in West Virginia and Nebraska after his competitors, of course, dropped out. Dr. Jeff Engel back with us, director of the Center for Presidential History at SMU. Let's talk about the Democratic side first. Just as Hillary Clinton thinks about trying to move towards the center, Bernie Sanders keeps buzzing around her head, winning primaries, pulling her to the left on some social issues.
On some important social issues.
Yeah.
She's actually come out and said that she wants to increase the number of people who can apply for Medicare, for more government aid and for more government health care. So Bernie is really clearly still pulling her to the left, but it's really important to recognize that he's not going to win. He would have to get about 84% of the remaining votes in the next upcoming primaries in order to capture his nomination. And the truth of the matter is, he's on a roll, but she won a lot of votes at the beginning.
Right.
So she's about 3 million votes up at this point.
Right.
So this is hers.
And there's a lot of talk about this whole thing about the party platforms, which just are honestly pretty meaningless these days. But Hillary Clinton, as the nominee, is going to pack the platform committee, and Bernie Sanders people are going to be sitting in the back of the room screaming.
Well, or at the very least, they're going to give them a few ideas that
Yeah.
the Sanders people want to really, give some ideas about perhaps moving things on campaign finance, moving really platitudes, essentially.
Right.
That what Clinton's going to do is what she wants to do with her campaign.
Exactly. So Donald Trump is going to meet tomorrow with House Speaker Paul Ryan, who, like many establishment Republicans, is very reluctant to even say the name Donald Trump. Some of these people are being asked, well, will you support Donald Trump? And the answer is, I support the party.
I support the nominee.
Right,
That's the easiest
but
out.
they can't come out, they can't get the word out of their mouth.
Well, and this is really where we're starting to see Donald Trump reap what he sowed with this party. That he campaigned essentially not only against Washington, but in many ways against the Republican establishment and against the Republican rules for the convention. And at this point, he's turning around and recognizing he was able to self-finance, in a sense, his primary, but to go for the general, he's going to need, and catch this number, about $1.5 billion.
Exactly. And where's that money come from?
Well, the only place it comes from are from the big donor lists that the Republicans have been keeping for 20, 30, 40, 50 years now.
Right.
And if they don't want to give him access to this, or at least if they want to turn those donors only towards Congress or only towards Senate and not towards the presidential campaign, that's going to be a real problem. Even Donald Trump can't create money out of thin air.
And a lot of establishment Republicans may say, you know what, it's more important for us to keep control of the House and the Senate than it is to deal with that guy who's calling us a bunch of schemers.
Yeah, and I think there's actually a good argument to be made among the party establishment that if we're seeing the Republican Party driven in two, what they really should hope for, if they want to hold on to their party, is a Donald Trump terrible loss.
Right.
That if he is absolutely destroyed, this allows the Paul Ryans of the world to turn around and say, you know what, true conservatism is what we're going to need for this party.
A couple of big stumbles this week by Donald Trump on policy issues, because he's finally, people are sitting down with him and saying, what about monetary policy? And two major stumbles.
Well, this is a big one. We talked last week about the difference of transitioning from a from a business background to a government actual job. And there's a lot of talk about Donald Trump being a wonderful businessman. This may be true, but he said this week that the way that he would deal with the national debt is to go in and essentially renegotiate the terms, to come in with the
Right.
investors.
So
and
all
say,
you little old ladies with savings bonds, we're
Right.
going to give you 90% of what you think you're going to get when you cash it in.
This will work great if you have a big business like the Empire State Building.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, if you want to see your interest rates go from 3% to 13% overnight, the best way to do it is to mess with the full faith and credit of the United States. This is not the kind of thing a president can say.
Right, and then when pressed on that, he said, well, if all else fails, we just print more money, which was another one that had people just flabbergasted.
We are still a long ways. And it's important to remember that at this point in the last several election cycles, the person who was ahead in May was not the person who won. I'll give you a good example. Ross Perot was ahead in May of 1992. The Perot presidency, of course, never happened.
Right. Or you would have been teaching about it in, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
More to come here on Good Day.